The Ghana Bar Association, the Attorney General's Department, and the entire court system is to be blamed for the widespread perception of corruption in the justice system. That's according to Supreme Court Justice William Atuguba, who says while the Bar Association has allowed partisan politics to eat deep into its roots, the Attorney General's Department has been sleeping on its mandate of prosecuting cases. These challenges, according to the blunt, no-nonsense judge, obviously are gradually eroding the strong pillars of the country's justice system. This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. We'll be back shortly. The chairperson of the 2012 presidential election petition panel thinks party politics within the Ghana Bar Association has rendered it toothless in putting government on its toes. The once vibrant association is now clothed in partisan colors, diminishing its role in national development. He also criticizes the Attorney General's Department for not prosecuting cases and is worried the image of the court has been tinted with corruption. We'll be taking a listen to William Atuguba on that whilst he was lashing the AGs and GBA. And then we'll also be speaking with a law lecturer at the University of Ghana Law School, Dr. Opoku, who agrees the association is less vibrant than before, but insists this is not as a result of political coloration of the association. Well, let's get on the line because I'm told lawyer Eduse Poku is on the line. Good evening, sir. Many thanks for your time.
Yes, good evening.
Well, you have heard what Justice William Atuguba said. He says that the Ghana Bar Association, the AG's department, should be blamed for the perceived corruption
line is a bit faint.
in the system.
Have a boost.
I'm saying that William Atuguba, Justice William Atuguba, is accusing the Ghana Bar Association, the AG's department, for the perceived corruption in that system. And so what do you make of this allegation or this bash?
Perceived corruption in the AG's office or at the bench?
At the Attorney General's Department, the Ghana Bar Association, and the general legal system. That's what he says.
Well, from what I heard from his lecture, he actually spoke to issues that are affecting the legal community. Don't talk for the legal community. We are talking about the bar, the bench, and the academy, which is academia. So he mainly focused on the ills of the bar and said that it used to be a vibrant society, but now it seems to have gone down. He attributed a number of factors to it, and I think that the diminishing status of the bar in Ghanaian politics is due to a number of factors. You know, it's not only about politics that has affected the fortunes of the association. I also realize the political environment has changed in Ghana, and that is a key issue, whereby instead of in the past or hitherto when we had very aggressive governments and then civil society groups were not many, then the association had to do a lot of work. But now we have a lot of civil society groups that are also fighting in an environment that is more moderate than it used to be. So those are some of the factors that have affected the activities of the association.
He spoke about political activities and that he says that the legal practitioners are now involved into political activities, and that
the line is pretty bad.
I'm afraid probably would have to drop the line and call you back and see if it will be better. We've been speaking with law lecturer at the University of Ghana Law School, lawyer Edu Poku, and he says that he agrees with Atuguba's blaming the GBA the Attorney General's Department and the general legal system that for the perception of corruption in the system. But he says that it is not because the legal system is involving itself in too much politics, but rather there are other factors. So we are trying to get him back on the line so that we can explore the issues further. But before we do that, let's take Atuguba's soundbite on his accusation.
I really don't see why the AG should be a minister of state under the president. If you look at the Constitution, the AG's functions are largely set out for him by the Constitution itself. And he exercises them from the authority conferred on him by the Constitution, not by a president, not by a minister. And therefore, in his functioning, he should have a separate office to operate as such. As it is, if we don't take care, the mix between ministerial status and his constitutional status will probably not at all times be clear. As a minister, he may think that he has to, kind of respect, virtually be bound by what the executive says because he's a minister. Whereas it is not like this. If you look at the provisions of Article 88 on his functions, they are conferred by the Constitution on him for the benefit of the people. And so his office ought to reflect that independent status so that, when the matter comes up, he looks at it purely as a lawyer without any political pressures for the benefit of the country. So I'm surprised that this decoupling was not recommended in very far-reaching terms by the Constitutional Review Commission. They did talk of it, but not in very far-reaching terms. They should have actually decoupled it straight away. This is what this country needs. Because party politics has eaten up the fabric of the society. And you need independent institutions to filter this type of cancer and get the state running properly for the benefit of the people, to whom all power belongs. Yes.
But was that also confirmed the perception that...
So that was Justice Atuguba, very passionate about the issues he's raising with the Ghana Bar Association, the Attorney General's Department, and the general legal system in the country. The Ghana Bar Association, the Attorney General's Department, and the entire court system, he's saying, or he's blaming for the widespread perception of corruption in the justice system. On the line with me is Barima Osei. He's a legal practitioner and a member of the NDC legal team. Good evening. We're very grateful for having you. Hello, Mr. Osei. Okay, on the other line is lawyer Edusei Poku. He's a law lecturer at the University of Ghana Law School. Good evening, sir. I'm sure the lines are better now. I'm afraid we lost both of them on the line. But we're still speaking the issue of Justice Atuguba, who is not happy with the issue of corruption or the perceived corruption at the Ghana Bar Association, the Attorney General's Department, and the entire court system, which he is blaming for the widespread of perception. And he's also saying that because lawyers and legal practitioners are involving themselves in so much politics, it's making them not to put government on its toes, as they're supposed to do. He's also saying that the Ghana Bar Association, which used to be very vibrant, is now no longer vibrant as it used to be. And he feels that the AG department, the Ghana Bar Association, and the general legal system needs to set up to be able to, because he's so worried, and he thinks that these challenges need to be addressed. In the studio with me is my colleague Opoku Gakpo. He was the one who spoke with Justice Atuguba. He'll be telling us more about reasons why Justice Atuguba is so passionate and why he's blaming the Ghana Bar Association, the Ages Department, and even the whole legal system, which he himself is part for the perceived corruption. Good evening. Opoku Gakpo, thanks for having you in the studio.
Good evening, Aisha.
Earlier on, you spoke with Justice Atuguba, and I just saw him, how passionate he was about the issue. But on what basis would he blame the Ages Department, the Ghana Bar Association, and the general legal system for the perceived corruption in there? I mean, why would he do that?
When he spoke at the Ghana Law School's 42nd week celebration today, it was on the theme, the role of the legal community in national development. So what he did was to lift the various communities within the legal system and do a critique of them. So he started with the judiciary, and he made the point that within the judiciary there is widespread corruption, and there's the perception that they are not doing things right, and people are able to get away with it. There's political influence and all of that, and he felt that was a problem. He spoke of the Attorney General's department as well, and there he made the point that he thinks they are not doing well enough when it comes to prosecutions. He even made the point that in the past, the Attorney General's department had done prosecutions and even prosecuted ministers of states, but that is not being seen currently. And then he moved on to the Ghana Bar Association. And there he made the point that their problems are several. The first one that he made had to do with political influence within the Ghana Bar Association, and the fact that, in his view, there is political infiltration within the ranks of the Ghana Bar Association. He gave some history lesson, making the point that during the General Achampon regime, there was a Ghana Bar Association that was very bold, and they stood up to the government. Okay,
Gakpo, hold on. Let me pick Abraham Amaleba, who is on our line. Good evening, Abraham Amaleba. He's the a legal practitioner and a member of the NDC legal team. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the Ghana Bar Association, the Attorney General's department, and the entire court system is to be blamed for the widespread perception of corruption in the justice system. That is what Justice William Atuguba is saying. How do you respond to this rather unpleasant whip?
Well, I think that it is everybody within the justice delivery system. It also includes some judges, and it includes some workers within the court system. So I will extend the list to include judges and also court staff and officials, because it's a chain, and the chain is that if there's a break in the chain, then it affects all the other parts of the chain. So the perceived corruption, whether real or perceived, is because of the actors in the justice delivery system. And I think that Justice Atuguba was right in saying that.
But more, Justice Atuguba is worried party politics within the Ghana Bar Association has rendered it toothless in putting government on its toes. The once vibrant association, he says, is now clothed in partisan colors, diminishing its role in national development. So how did we get to this stage?
He's spot on, because the GBA used to be the voice of the voiceless, the defender of democracy, the protector of its rights. But now it's Bar Association. Is it up to this moment? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we're still on air.
I can hear some noise, some feedback or so. So the Bar Association is not so long living up to this people's tenants. Why is it so? The reason is simply that the GBA is polarized. It's polarized to the extent that executive members of the bar are seen to be members of the political party or another political party. And so if you are in leadership, if you are a leader in the Bar Association, which is supposed to be the champion of democracy, and you also wear another cap as a politician, it becomes difficult for you to be upright in the way you do things. So the polarization has weakened bar association, which is making it difficult for the bar association to stand up to the principles that are enumerated.
Okay, Lawyer Maliba, please hold on. Let me get onto the other phone line because Lawyer Duse Poku is on the line. I'm sure the lines are clear now. Hello, Lawyer Duse Poku. Okay, I think the lines are so bad. Let me get back to the studio and speak with Joseph Gakpo. You were earlier on explaining to me reasons why Justice Atuguba, who is a member of the legal system, would go all out to accuse them of, being the reason for the perceived corruption in the system.
You know, with regards to corruption, his main points had to do with the judiciary, and he said the perception of corruption among the judicial service is quite widespread, and he felt that was that was a big problem that needs to be addressed. With the Ghana Bar Association, his concern was about the political polarization that currently exists within the Ghana Bar Association, in his view, and he felt that was making them less active in terms of putting government on its toes. He cites examples that when it came to even the military regime, members of the Ghana Bar Association at a point in time withdrew their services to protest various government policies. But he's not seeing that now. And he even made reference that in times past, there is a former president of the Ghana Bar Association who made a point that the Ghana Bar Association would not be ready to comment on national or political issues affecting the nation. And he felt all of this was because of the political stance of some of the officials who were leading the Ghana Bar Association. And that is actually the problem that has sat with the association till now and made it less vibrant in terms of putting government on its toes, so it does what it's supposed to do.
Let's get back onto the phone lines because Lawyer Opoku Duse is back on the line. Very pleased to have you back, sir. Hope the lines are better.
Well, inshallah, we hope it works out.
Well, you agree that the GBA is not vibrant as it used to be, but blames it on other factors, not really political issues. What are the other factors you're talking about?
Well, as I did indicate earlier, a lot of factors have coalesced to actually render the vibrancy of the organization quite reduced. One, you can't rule out that elements of partisanship has affected the organization to some extent, because the perception out there is that the organization is right-leaning, and for that reason, they tend to favor those who belong to the political right. The second factor that I want to mention is that of the kind of democratic dispensation that we are in now. In the past, where we had governments that were engaged in serious human rights abuses, the grievous violations of rights of persons, those areas are now over, more or less. So I'm speaking against governments for issues of torture and forced imprisonment, and those kinds of issues have reduced. And for that reason, you may think that they are not doing any work. And one other thing also is that a lot of NGOs and human rights organizations have also come on board to contribute to discourse on human rights. Some call it the rights talk. So these stakeholders are taking a bit of the load that in the past were on the Ghana Bar Association, and they're also playing their role in our democratic dispensation. So that has reduced the workload on the organization, and how in the past it was seen as the limelight to fight against rights abuses and then corruption.
But there still remain some issues that needs to be talked about. If you look at some issues, for instance, with the AG's department, there have been a lot of issues raised as to its performance these days. And you look at some of the cases they have lost due to lack of preparedness and even negligence, making them lose those cases. You look at the huge judgment debts being paid to individuals and all of that. I mean, these are issues that you can also raise questions.
I believe we're asking about a performance of the lawyers of the government, which is the Attorney General's department.
Yes.
and how they've handled a number of cases in recent times.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, I mean, he spoke that issues of, corruption and lapses in the Attorney General's office is also affecting the work of the organization, the agency. But what I would say about that is that it will go beyond what we consider to be corruption, where people are just taking money and refusing to act. What is actually happening is that there are instances whereby, because of institutional lapses, you can talk of corruption because persons are not able to do their work effectively. And I think that's also an aspect that needs to be considered.
And so what's the way forward? Because it's obvious that the judicial system needs to set up. And so how do we do that?
Well, for instance, in the aspect of criminal justice system, one quick suggestion would be in the way the police person, who have, under the law, gotten powers to prosecute certain offenses. But most often than not, you realize that they refer to the Attorney General's office to get legal advice. And because of the disconnect between the AG's office and the police service, realize that it could take about sometimes 2 years, a year and over, and the advice wouldn't have still been returned from the Attorney General's office. That is a serious issue, and it's an institutional lapses that will need to be addressed. So if the police will be empowered more to prosecute offenses where they have the capability to do that, instead of always referring what is seen as serious offenses to the Attorney General's office for advice, the earlier we do that, the better, because it's actually delaying a lot of cases. That's why you find out that a lot of persons are on remand and are not getting speedy trial. It's because the advice that is being sought by the police service would generally not be coming quickly from the Attorney General's office, because that office is also burdened with a lot of work and it's understaffed.
Well, many thanks to you, Lawyer Edusei Poku. He is a law lecturer at the University of Ghana. Let me get on to the other phone line because Lawyer Abraham Amaleba is still on there. On the Attorney General's Department, Justice Atuguba said in the past, the AG's department used to prosecute even ministers of state accused of corruption, but hinted again that such prosecutions have been rare in recent times. How should we take this, and what's the way forward?
It appears the other line is having some interruptions. If that line is, there's some sound coming through, and I didn't hear your question.
Hello, lawyer.
Yes. Yes. What was your question? Okay, it's now okay. It's fine.
I'm saying that Lawyer Atuguba accused the AG's department that formerly they even prosecuted ministers who were accused of corruption. But these days, those things are no longer done. And I'm asking, how should we take this? And what can we do? What's the way forward?
I'm not sure that that is not being done. I am fully aware that there's a certain MP who is being prosecuted. I am aware that under the Kufuor administration, a minister was prosecuted, Mala Minister under the Kufuor administration. I would agree that probably we are not seeing more of this, and that it appears the hands of the Attorney General is tied because it is difficult for the Attorney General to look in the eye of his colleague minister and prosecute him. If that is the case, if we come to that realization, then I think that we need some constitutional amendment so that we could take away the prosecutorial powers from the Attorney General under the Constitution and give it to an independent person, an independent prosecutor.
I'm sure those things happen, but probably the AG's department has not had the hard approach that is supposed to approach those matters. And so you see the people being prosecuted, but and nothing comes out of those prosecutions. I mean, recently we have had a whole number of cases, and the AG's department has lost due to lack of preparation. And we ask why. I mean, if even a layman looking at those issues could tell that, the AG's department shouldn't lose such cases. So you can see clearly that that department needs to set up. But how do we start such reforms when the department is already losing credibility?
I think that it's not fair to say that the AG's department is losing cases. You could only prosecute a case successfully if you have evidence. Now, what is happening at the AG department is because of the fact that that department is not so resourced in terms of funding to that department. So you notice that most of the time, the attorneys there, the lawyers there, would leave after 5 years, 4 to 5 years. They leave and go to other organizations that can pay more. And so that department does not attract experienced lawyers. I'm not talking about qualified. They are all qualified, but I'm talking about experienced lawyers. So we need to look at the remuneration, the conditions of service in there to beef up the Attorney General Department. I also think that decoupling the prosecutorial powers, as I was saying, from the Attorney General and giving it to an independent prosecutor would be the solution to this problem of chain of losses that you are talking about.
Well, many thanks to you, Lawyer Maliba. That's all time will allow us.
Okay, all right.
We're extremely grateful for your time. Back into the studio, Joseph Gakpo. But Justice William Atuguba himself is part of the court systems. And so did you ask him what he has done in his own small way to ensure sanity in the system?
Well, he makes the point that the legal system as a whole would have to operate together to ensure that they play their role in the development of the nation. He, for example, made the point that a good legal system is crucial if economic advancement would be realized, and that if the nation can really develop and things will go on well. So his point is that from the side of the judiciary, the Attorney General's Department, the Ghana Bar Association, and even academics who are into the teaching of law, he thinks that it's about time that a full collaboration happens within all of these bodies to ensure that they all play their needed role when it comes to national development. But there were other questions that came up at today's session. Dr. Pakwesi Ndum, who is the flag bearer of the Progressive People's Party, he's one of those who spoke at the forum, and he had concerns about the role that lawyers have played in the development of the nation over the years. He cited, for example, the provision in the Constitution for the free compulsory basic education, which gave a period within which government was supposed to undertake its implementation. He raised questions that period has elapsed. Where are the lawyers in terms of them taking government on to ensure that that provision is actually run through? And he called for effectiveness on the part of the lawyers to help with economic advancement. So
where are the lawyers who are supposed to ensure the development of this nation? The F-cube and other questions are being posed. It's a myriad of questions that needs a lot of answers. We haven't gotten that yet, but we'll explore the issues further. We'll be back shortly on with Joy News Interactive.